Anyway, it's Gospel Tuesday, so we have a look at thing, religious mix-up. And, for religious mix-up today, we're fortunate to have with us Father Michael Lewis, pastor of the Stella Maris Roman Catholic Church. Father Michael Lewis, pastor of the Stella Maris Roman Catholic Church. Good afternoon to you, Father Lewis.
Yeah, man, how you doing?
How you doing? Everything all right?
Yeah, man, everything, Chris.
Okay, blessings. That's why I like you, sir, Pastor Lewis. You bunks it right, I think. I love that, shall we say, linguistic flexibility. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Listen, polygamy, the whole notion of multiple wives, we have seen where in the United States the matter has reared its head with respect to what's going on in Utah and so forth, multiple wives. There are several shows now on TV that are highlighting the lifestyle and the challenges of, familial situation where you have multiple wives and so forth. And then in West Africa also, we've seen these are decent people, these decent law-abiding people who have some cultural order that says that it's okay to have up to 4 wives and so forth and things like that. There remains some confusion among some of the observers of these phenomena as to, if these are decent law, and some of them are religious and so forth, what exactly is the right thing here? That matter remains unresolved in the minds of many people. So we're asking you to help us to understand contemporary manifestations of polygamy, which is multiple wives and so forth, and what does the scripture say or the church say about that?
Mm-hmm. Well, you said the contemporary situation. Well, right. The contemporary situation is no different from as it's always been for the last over almost 2,000 years.
Okay.
The Christian church,
right,
and that's the only one I can speak of, and I speak more specifically from my own tradition as a Roman Catholic.
Right.
We hold one position. We've always held one position. From the time of Christ and the apostles to now.
Right.
That, relationships are good. That's a starting point. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Relationships are good.
Right.
And that they are healthy.
Right.
And where a man and a woman come together to establish a lifelong commitment, that's great.
Right.
Now, we've always maintained that a person can only do that once with one person.
Okay.
All right. So therefore, the issue, the question of having multiple partners is something that we frown on.
No, but why have you always maintained that? What is the genesis of that dictate? What are the origins of this notion that
you're talking about your total giving of yourself to one partner. It is an expression of yourself. It is an expression of your love. It's an expression of your commitment. And that is something that the church has always maintained. It's not something that you can do. You can duplicate at will.
But how do you reconcile the fact that you have people have chosen to be in situation where you have multiple partners and they say they're happy, they're not sad, and they resent the fact that other people cannot appreciate them being happy. That is what they want.
Yeah, there are people who will want whatever they want, and if a person wants whatever they want, they will justify it with whatever arguments they can come up with. That does not negate our position. A person can say that it's quite fine for them to, be in a relationship with a child. The church says no.
Right,
and society says no. That's not right. It's improper. It's wrong. But a person like that will come up with all kinds of arguments.
Let's go to the Bible then. How is it that some of the celebrated icons with respect to the Bible and God and so forth? How is it that they had multiple partners and it seemed
you're speaking of the Old Testament?
Solomon, for example. Solomon had a whole heap of wives and the equivalent of mating nowadays, which is concubines and so forth. And Solomon was so when you say Old Testament, is it the case then that it was right then and not right now? And if it was right then, why was Solomon celebrated and embraced by God then?
Okay. Well, Solomon at a time, his own time, his culture, his context said that, that was okay. But continue.
Aha! You just said his culture and his context said that was okay.
Yes, but you follow me now.
Yes, but why isn't that principle relevant now today? Why cannot somebody say, this is my culture, this is my context, just as it was okay for Solomon then, it's okay for me now, because God is God then, and God is God now. It's the same God then, that is the same God now, and God cannot be right then and wrong now. God is right all the time. So if God was right then God must be right now, and God will approve of my context and my culture that says it's okay to have multiple wives.
Okay, well, if you would allow me now to say.
Yes.
If you continue through Scripture, yes, as you get to the New Testament, as Christians, we believe that what we have in Jesus Christ is a new revelation of God in Christ, that God now becomes one like us, and that's what we celebrate in the Incarnation. That is what we celebrate, especially at this time as Christians at Christmas. Now, in this new revelation, in this renewed relationship between God and man, what we have in the person of Jesus is a development of our understanding of how the Lord wants us to live with each other. And clearly, one of the things that Jesus showed was that there is a progression. And marriage, as Jesus spoke about it, is between two people, only two people. And so the whole thing about polygamy, that went. That is the position that the church continues to maintain. You are correct in saying that God is God then, God is God now. Culture changes, the understanding of our relationship with God changes, context changes. Those things have changed. Our understanding of who God is, our understanding of our relationship with God, our understanding of what is acceptable in the sight of God is one where for the last 2,000 years we've believed, held, maintained that polygamy is not something that is healthy, it is not something that, it is not a way of life that we are to choose. Where the church, through the years, has encountered cultures where there was polygamy, and I speak specifically of Roman Catholics,
right?
Where we went into places in Africa, places in the oceanic states, where we encountered polygamy. How we dealt with it was we said, okay, fine. We're not here to tell you that we are suppressing this right here, right now.
Right.
But we're saying to you, if you want to be a part of this community, if you want to be Christian, if you want to be a part of this family, well, then you are going to have to make a choice. And it's your free choice. And what we said was, you are going to, of all of these women that you have as your wives, you're going to have to choose one. And that one will be your wife. The rest you will simply relate to as you do any other woman. But only this one will have the right to be called wife. And we've just managed it that way. We've respected people that way. Persons will always come and say,
no, hold on.
God in my own way. But the church says, listen, you are within a particular community. And if this is how the community chooses to behave, you can't say you are part of the community, but you are rejecting what the community
right. I understand what you're saying. You can't. Basically, you're saying if you're going to join the church and basically rule with the church, then it's helpful to you to follow the teachings of the church and don't think that and therein lies a larger issue, the whole issue of where does the rule of free will that. In other words, God it sounds weird, but God, the way we define God, God can't grow.
True, it is our understanding of
That God
that
cannot grow. For God to grow, it means that God is presently in.
But God is not our concept of God.
Is not as omnipotent as God is, or all-seeing, or all-knowing. So God can't grow. God is just God. So whatever God is, that is God then, and it is God now. So, so the fact that we have a situation where, as you just stipulated, certain principles and cultural mores and so forth have evolved and changed, and you use the term progressed, then it logically follows that phenomenon or the phenomena there is something separate from God.
No,
it has to be.
No.
No, but if we say God can't change, because to imply that God changed, it means that God can be in one state of being and then God learned something.
But hang on a second.
No, it must be people.
Part of the equation.
That would be?
You're only looking at one part of the equation. You are not looking at the other part of the equation.
Which is what?
Bear in mind, I use that term. We are in a relationship with God. It is not a one-sided thing where God just reveals himself totally and completely. That has not happened. God revealed himself from the very beginning in the Old Testament.
Right.
With Moses, through the prophets, and all of that. We saw at that time one aspect of God, okay? We saw all of the old laws. For instance, the law about retaliation, where an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
Right.
Yes? Where that was a law where it says if a man do you something, you are allowed to do him back something, but you have to do him back something in proportion to what him did do to you in the first place.
Right.
Right? As time went on, and we come now to the point of Jesus, of God, having now revealed himself.
Right.
All right, physically among his people. Jesus now says, okay, fine. You will remember it was said in the Old Testament. It was said in the law, all of this. Jesus now says, all right, that is what it says.
Oh, hold on. No, I know you don't finish. No, I'm coming back to you. They just have to...
saying to you, I am now saying to you, I am giving you a new law. All right? And so what we have is a new way of understanding God. And so the relationship develops. It is not that God has changed, but our understanding of God is.
And I see what you're saying.
Relate to God develops.
I just want them to read the news right now because I'm coming right back to you. But I want you to know that I understand what you're saying. In other words, the people then were not understanding God in the fullness that they should. And that we have progressed. That it's the same God you're saying. And that we now have a better understanding of what has always been the case with God with respect to polygamy.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. 1 second, Father Lewis. We're speaking with Father Michael Lewis, pastor of the Stella Maris Roman Catholic Church. And we're going to take a quick break so that we can have news. And we're coming back to Father Lewis to just address two more points before we wrap up. We'll soon forward. Yeah, man, welcome back up in our sitting and thing, and we are in our Tuesday feature, Religious Mixup, on Tuesday, Gospel Tuesday, and again we're fortunate to have with us Father Michael Lewis, who is a pastor of the Stella Maris Roman Catholic Church, who is giving us some insights and helping us to understand some of the issues and dynamics surrounding the whole notion of polygamy that's having multiple wives. Father Lewis, why is it the feminists have long had a problem with stuff like this, where we, in terms of systems, cultural systems, we're very tolerant of men having multiple wives, but the whole notion of women having multiple husbands, is just absolutely awful in the sight of many, and think. What's going on there, and what is you have pretty much given us the stance that the church has, which is, listen, it's just one man to a woman, period. Okay.
And vice versa. It's the same principle. The principle cuts both ways.
But how do you explain this being sustained, men having multiple wives legally in many areas of the world? What are the and we see where the Mormons, for example, they have it under a religious umbrella. They have their interpretation of the Bible and of God. Why this should be so?
Have you ever spoken to the Mormons?
Yes, I have.
And have they told you that they have problems with it?
That they have problems with what? With what?
That where you have communities where you have polygamous relationships, that there are serious issues there?
No, they didn't give me any impression that there are serious issues, but they.
All right. I'm telling you that where you have even in the United States, because that's really where you're pointing to.
Right.
Where you have communities that quote unquote accept polygamy, and there is a practice of polygamy, that there are serious issues there.
But their approach to the issues there, it's not anything radically different from, say, a man and a woman who married have married problems and things. They would say, no, of course you're going to have problems in relationships. That's a fact of life. But with respect to the specific principle of a man having multiple wives, they don't have any problems with that. But of course, they will say, yeah, of course, some of the ladies get jealous sometimes. They don't get enough time. The man is probably not as giving to some as he are to others. So they do have those issues. Yeah.
So therefore, what you have when you have those kinds of relationships is you have inbuilt unfairness. And so the church says, listen, when you're talking about a committed relationship, you can't have that. You can't say you're committed to one more than to another. You're either committed to one totally and completely, and you cast off the other one. You can't, as Jesus said, you can't serve two masters at the same time.
No, but I'm sure you've seen where these many of these women said they're quite happy, and many of the men saying, no, I love them all the same. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen.
I have heard them say out in public, we're quite fine.
Right.
And then they come in private and say, listen, I have serious problems. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, but what I'm saying, that's no different from, that's no different from a married couple, which is quite common in public, saying, oh, we're quite fine, and then in private, the married couple, they have all kind of problems, though. That's, you know.
And so what it is what is being portrayed is untruth.
Okay.
So if you want to talk about the truth, if you want to talk about what is fair, if you want to talk about what is just and good, you really can only talk about a committed relationship between two people. It really cannot go beyond that.
Last question, Father Louis. And if you allow me some latitude here.
Well, I would try.
The first humanoid forms supposedly occurred in East Africa. And I don't know if you're familiar with the scholarship of the Leakeys, for example. But when human beings became bipedal, and remember, no, I'm not with Adam and Eve. I'm in a totally different epistemology here, and so forth. But the idea that the earliest human forms, before societies became organized, before industrialization and so forth, and things like that, before they were actually exposed to the Bible, multiple partners in union was quite common, and they just did not have a religious order governing that. And those societies, we call them bands, and so forth. The foragers, I don't know if you ever heard of them, that we've evolved from foragers to the agriculturists to the pastoralists, and then to the industrial society, and now they're talking about the digital age. But they there was less war then. They chose to have multiple partners. There weren't Bibles, and there weren't religious.
That there were less wars then. Who was around to document that?
Well, this is from scholarship. This is from Scott. But I'm just leave out the wars. No. Father, look, no. But no. There were less wars. But if you just play the statistics, if there are more people, there are going to be more opportunities for conflict and so forth. But leave the wars part though. The point is they had multiple partners there, and with respect to foragers and bands and so forth, and there wasn't any religious mediator there sanctioning them whether or not multiple partners is right. They just lived successfully and they had wonderful lives, and it wasn't a problem then. Mm-hmm. So some people argue that this whole notion that you have to stay with one person, it's just an outgrowth of modernism. Mm-hmm. What's your response to that?
Well, some people may argue that, but people must also accept the fact that as human beings, we grow, we develop, we progress, we understand who we are differently depending on our interactions with each other, depending on the interactions between cultures and different people. And in this case now, it depends ultimately on our interaction, our growth and development, our relationship with the Supreme, this entity, this being who we have come to understand as God. And, the way we order society today, a big part of the ordering of society is dependent on our understanding of our relationship with God. And this is not just in the area of where our sexuality is being governed, but it also is seen in every aspect of our lives, how we practice justice, how we practice business. There was a time when people, were quite open, saying, listen, wherever out there, you go grab it and take it. Right. And once you hold up on it, you're one. It's a business with nobody else.
Right.
Social justice now says, hang on a second, you can't just do that.
Right.
You can't just go there and grab.
Right.
Because you may be strong enough to go grab, and somebody may not be as strong as you, and they can't run as fast, and they can't grab. But you can't just push that person aside. So the goods of society has to be equitably distributed, not equally, but equitably, depending on people's needs and all of that. That comes out of our understanding of a God who is just. We also order our sexuality based on our understanding of a God who says this is how you live your life. You must practice chastity. You must control your sexuality. Your sexuality doesn't control you, which is one of the things with Jamaican society, where we have the popular thing, man a man and man do it, and whatever man feel like do, man must go do.
Right.
The church says no. You will have your urges. That's natural, but acting on your urges all the time, whenever they rise up, may not be appropriate, may not be right. You have to control it, not allow it to control you. And so how we live in community, how we live in relationships with one another, that is all governed by how we understand God.
Oh, you understand God. Father Lois, thank you so much again. Father, it's Monsignor, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You're not really caught up with the titles and so forth, right?
No.
You sound to me like somebody who's just really focused on the work and the impact that you're having with respect to influencing the people to be better, to better themselves. But thank you again for coming with us and speaking with us today and helping us to understand, a broader perspective of this whole issue of polygamy and the church. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Father Michael Lewis, pastor of the Stella Maris Roman Catholic Church, and again, religious mix-up, and it is, there's many things out there that continue to confound us and confuse us and so forth, and it's always good to talk to some people who are we can genuinely refer to them as being experts on the matter. You don't necessarily have to agree with everything that they say, but it just in engaging them in dialogue very often yields information that is food for thought and that can enlighten us and help us to even better understand the particular phenomenon that we're exploring in the discussion.